The desert air was still, almost unnaturally quiet. The kind of quiet that comes before a storm, before something shifts in a way no one expects. Inside the dim operations tent at FOB Cunner, fluorescent lights buzzed above a tense group of Navy SEALs, their faces cast in shadows over a satellite map spread across the table. Captain Eric Reeves, seasoned, sharp-eyed, and calm under pressure, studied the terrain, a narrow valley flanked by jagged cliffs. The objective: a Taliban-held compound believed to be holding American journalist Daniel Crowley. The mission was classified high risk and supposedly straightforward. The extraction team would insert under darkness, retrieve the hostage, and exfil before first light. Air support would be on standby. In theory, a clean operation. Ava Morgan sat in the back of the room, unnoticed by most. Just 23, she was the youngest TACP specialist on the base, and one of the only women in the entire region. Slender, pale-skinned, with sharp cheekbones and intense green eyes. She didn't need to speak to make an impression, but she rarely did unless necessary. Her job was clear: coordinate close air support if things went sideways. That meant sinking with the A-10 Warthogs orbiting high above the AA monsters of the sky, built for punishment. She knew their capabilities like the back of her hand. Slow, armored beasts that could fly low and hit hard with a GAU-8 cannon, it sounded like the wrath of God. But tonight, Ava didn't expect to use them. No one did. Remember, Reeves said, his voice low but firm, we're in and out. Minimal resistance expected. Still, stay frosty. Comes, stay tight. JTAC, embedded with us, will coordinate if anything pops off. Let's get this guy home. Nods. All around. The SEALs were professionals. Confident, disciplined, and ready. They were used to danger, used to making it back. The embedded JTAC, Sergeant Travis Holt, gave Ava a short glance as he zipped his compact. He was a good operator, reliable. If air support was needed, he'd handle it. She'd just be backup. A voice in the dark. Still, Ava had gone over every inch of the terrain. She'd memorized elevation maps, radio dead zones, and enemy movement patterns. It was just how she worked, quietly obsessed with detail, the kind of detail that could save lives. She stood up from the table after the briefing, brushing her hair back into a tight braid, and slipped into the comms truck to check her gear. Radios, frequency presets, her call sign, Eclipse, freshly confirmed in the system. She tested the line to the A-10 squadron, already in the sky, circling like hawks. Captain Derek Hayes, calcined diesel, was flying lead tonight. Eclipse, this is Vulture 1. We're on station, 15K feet, loitering east of Grid Point Alpha. You call, we roar, came his voice through the headset, calm and cool. Copy. That diesel? Hopefully, you get a quiet night. Quiet's boring. Give me something to light up, he chuckled. Ava smiled faintly, then turned serious. If it comes to that, I'll make sure the targets are real. No mistakes. Roger that, Eclipse. We're yours when needed. The Black Hawks lifted the SEALs into the night just after 2,300 hours. Ava watched their lights disappear into the blackness beyond the wire. She leaned back in her chair, one hand resting on the headset, the other on the keyboard displaying the satellite feed. All was silent now, just green outlines of hills and heat signatures of goats in the distance. But something tugged at her. A sense, not panic, but pressure, like the stillness before lightning strikes. She'd been part of other missions, ones that went sideways fast, and the terrain tonight felt too quiet, too easy. She couldn't shake it. No one knew yet, but this mission wasn't going to go smooth. And when it unraveled, as it soon would, it wouldn't be muscle or bullets that changed the outcome. It would be Ava's voice. Asterisk. The Black Hawks skimmed low across the rugged Afghan terrain, their rotors slicing through the heavy night air. The valley below was a patchwork of shadows and silent ridges. Inside one of the birds, Captain Reeves sat with his team. 10 SEALs geared in matte black kits. Weapons checked, minds sharp. No one spoke. They didn't need to. The rhythm of pre-mission silence was sacred, a mental space where each man focused on his role, his breathing, his purpose. Reeves glanced to his left. Sergeant Travis Holt, the team's JTAC, tapped his headset, confirming. Satellite link-up. Everything was green. At 0004 hours, they touched down just outside the village of Darak. Dust swirled around the boots of the disembarking team. The choppers lifted silently, leaving the SEALs behind in total darkness. The only sound now was the wind whispering through the rocks. Reeves gave the silent hand signal. They moved fast and low. Darak was a small settlement, maybe 30 mud brick structures nestled into a ravine. The compound housing the hostage was marked on the northeast edge. Intel suggested light opposition, 2 to 4 guards max. Locals said the Taliban used the village as a layover, not a fortress, but the village was too quiet. As the SEALs breached the outer gate, a first burst of automatic fire tore through the night. It didn't come from the front. It came from above. Contact. Roof. Someone shouted. Muzzle flashes exploded from multiple positions. Taliban fighters opened fire from alleys, windows, rooftops. It wasn't a layover. It was a trap. The intel had been wrong. Ambush. We're hot. Reeves yelled, ducking behind a crumbled wall as bullets chewed through the air. Sergeant Holt hit the deck, already reaching for his gear. Vulture, this is Guardian 1. Troops in contact. Need immediate air support. But the line crackled. The Z? Radio buzzed with broken static. Vulture, say again. You copy? More static. Then a round struck near Holt's back. He slumped over. Blood soaked into the dirt beneath him. Reeves cursed. One SEAL was already hit, dragging himself behind cover. Another tossed a smoke grenade toward the ridge, hoping to block the line of sight. Chaos reigned. The team was pinned, and worse, blind. Their JTAC was down. No way to coordinate air support. Up in the sky, 15,000 feet above. Captain Derek, Diesel haze, circled in his A-10 Warthog. He could see flashes on the ground, small arms fire, plumes of smoke, but no targeting confirmation. No JTAC, no coordinates, no friend or foe confirmation. And with the narrow valley and close proximity of friendlies, a wrong shot could kill Americans. Ops, this is Vulture 1, Diesel radioed. I'm seeing heat signatures, but got no comms from ground team. I repeat, no comms. Holding position. Inside the command truck back at base, Ava Morgan sat up straighter. Her screen flashed red. JTAC offline. Guardian 1 not responding. She leaned forward, adjusting her headset. Frantic bursts of noise came through the main channel. Nothing coherent. But then, she heard it. A single broken line. Danger close. Pinned East Ridge. Her fingers flew over the keyboard. That was Reeves. His voice, scrambled but unmistakable. She cross-referenced GPS pings and satellite feed. The SEALs were exactly where they should have been, but the enemy had surrounded them. She looked around the ops room. No one else was acting. Technically, without on-ground JTAC, protocol said to wait. But wait meant death. She keyed her mic. Vulture 1, this is Eclipse. I have confirmed location of friendly forces. Be advised, multiple hostiles on East Ridge. Stand by for fire mission. There was a pause, then Diesel's voice. Copy that, Eclipse. I'm listening. Ava didn't blink. You're going to fire blind, but if you trust me, I'll guide you in. Another beat. Then, all right, Eclipse. Let's light 'em up. The air inside the command truck was thick, not with heat, but with uncertainty. Screens blinked, radios hissed, and officers murmured half-formed thoughts as the mission spiraled off script. The embedded JTAC was unresponsive. Comms from the field were fragmentary at best. Some were already considering calling the mission off. Or worse, preparing for a rescue of a rescue. But Ava Morgan wasn't frozen. She leaned in closer to her screen, isolating the static-filled line. Her fingers danced over the console, filtering. Background interference. She slowed the audio, enhanced the waveform. There it was again, barely a whisper. East. Danger close, strobe active. That was Captain Reeves. He was alive, still fighting. Still hoping someone up there was listening. Ava keyed her headset. Vulture One, this is Eclipse, she said firmly. I've got visual confirmation of friendly IR strobe at grid 42 Delta, just west of the East Ridge. Hostile fire is coming from elevated positions on the slope above. Target run east to west. Say altitude. Copy, Eclipse, Diesel replied from the sky, his tone shifting from caution to action. I've got the IR. You calling it? I am, she said. You'll be danger close, maybe within 25 meters. I can't guarantee perfect spacing. Doesn't matter, he replied. If you see it, I'll shoot it. From the ground, the SEALs had hunkered into defensive positions. 2 were injured. The hostage, Daniel Crowley, was panicked and trembling behind a stack of rubble. Captain Reeves crouched low beside him, bleeding from a graze on his shoulder, still holding the line. Above them, the faint scream of jet engines signaled a presence few insurgents ever forgot, the Warthog. And when the GAU-8 cannon fired, it didn't whisper. It roared. Eclipse, Vulture One, I'm in position. Confirm final targeting. Confirmed. Engage now. Suppress East Ridge. The valley lit up as Diesel made his run. The A-10 dropped low between cliffs, engines howling like a mechanical beast. From its nose, the cannon erupted, a thunderous burst that shattered the sky and sprayed 30mm shells across the slope. Enemy positions vanished beneath dirt and fire. Those who survived scattered like ants. The sound echoed through the valley. And then silence. Vulture One? Effect on target? Ava asked. Target neutralized, Diesel confirmed. Looks like you got me right on top of them. In the command truck, heads turned. Even the senior officers stopped talking. They watched Ava, her face locked in concentration, her voice cool and decisive. She wasn't panicking. She wasn't second-guessing. She was running the show. More comms came in from the ground. Guardian 1 to base. We're moving. Covering fire was effective. Hostile fire reduced. Reeves' voice was hoarse but clear. Whoever the hell is on that mic, don't stop talking. Ava replied, calm and confident. Copy that, Guardian 1. Stay low. I've got more runs on standby. Back in the sky, Diesel looped for a second pass. Eclipse, give me another vector. Let's finish this. Ava scanned her feed. Hostiles regrouping southwest ridge. New run, north to south. 800 meters. You're clear. Roger that. Again, the Warthog swept down like a god of war. Another strafing run. More thunder. More smoke. The Taliban fighters didn't regroup. This time, they retreated, broken. Inside the command center, the energy had changed. Everyone now watched Ava as she directed the operation with surgical precision. What began as chaos was now a ballet of steel, led by her voice. Vulture 1, maintain overwatch, she said. We're going to get them out. Copy, Eclipse, Diesel replied, chuckling. Didn't expect to be led by a voice in a box, but I'm not complaining. She allowed herself the briefest smile, then got back to work. Asterisk, the A-10 looped through the night sky, circling like a predator that had just found blood. Below, the valley was burning, not from bombs, but from controlled fury. The kind only the Warthog could deliver when its cannon lit up the ground like a lightning storm dot inside the ops truck. Ava Morgan had taken full command of the sky. Vulture 1, turn 10 degrees west. I've got enemy heat signatures behind the collapsed structure, just beyond the original ridgeline, she said, her eyes scanning a flickering satellite feed. New target, Grid 42 Charlie. Roger that, Diesel replied. Beginning approach. To the SEALs below, the voice from the sky was a lifeline. Reeves gripped his rifle tighter as dust and debris rained from the rooftops. The cannon's roar had scattered the enemy just long enough to reposition. They'd taken cover behind a partially destroyed wall, patching up one of their own. Petty Officer Lang, hit in the leg, but still fighting. The hostage was alive. Shaken but unharmed, but the fight wasn't over. Enemy gunfire resumed from a nearby orchard, bullets zipping over their heads like angry hornets. We need another run now. Reeves shouted into the mic, praying someone could hear. Ava heard. Vulture 1, reposition southwest. Hostile fire detected from orchard near 42 Delta. Target zone is tight. Avoid eastern perimeter. Copy, Eclipse, inbound. Seconds later, the sound came again, the unmistakable thrum of the A-10 diving low. The GAU-8 Avenger cannon spat death, stitching a clean, smoking line through the trees. No buildings were touched, no SEALs were harmed. But the gunfire stopped instantly. Ava continued issuing commands like she was born to do it. Her voice was precise, calm, surgical. Maintain bearing. Hold altitude. Watch for IR strobes, friendlies. Are moving east. Diesel was flying by feel now, trusting only her voice and his instruments. He'd flown hundreds of missions, Iraq, Syria, the Balkans, but he'd never worked with a controller like Eclipse. She didn't hesitate. She didn't guess. Every call was exact. She's reading my mind, he muttered to his co-pilot. On the ground, Reeves and his men began their exfil maneuver, escorting the hostage down a narrow ravine toward the designated evac point. They were moving fast, but not fast enough. More Taliban fighters were converging from the south. Guardian 1 to Eclipse. We're exposed on the ridge. Can you clear the path ahead? Ava was already on it. Vulture 1, mark new. Target, 500 meters ahead of Guardian 1's current position. Confirm laser designation. Laser hot. Target in sight, Diesel replied. Engage. The Warthog fired again. Short, brutal bursts. The canyon ahead exploded in dust and smoke, clearing a path just long enough for the team to push through. Inside, the command center, the senior officer on watch, Major Keller, finally approached Ava. Still stunned. You're running this op now? He asked. I am, sir, she said, not breaking her rhythm. JTAC's down. I have positive comms with Vulture 1 in real-time sat imagery. I've got this. He paused, watching the live feed of the battlefield. Ava's airstrikes protecting the team with terrifying precision. Then carry on, airmen, he said. And don't miss. Ava didn't look away. I won't. Outside, the SEALs finally reached the ridge leading to the evac site. They were battered, bleeding, but alive, all of them, including the hostage. Smoke curled into the stars. Behind them, as the Warthog pulled up from its latest run, Guardian 1 to Eclipse, Reeves called, breathing hard. Tell that pilot he's an angel. Ava keyed her mic. You can tell him yourself when you're all on the bird. Stay sharp. I've still got eyes. She was no longer the quiet girl in the corner of the room. She was now the voice of thunder, the one who aimed the storm. The ridge offered little cover. Loose gravel and jagged rock left the seals exposed as they pushed forward, escorting the wounded and the hostage. Night vision painted everything in grainy green, but even that couldn't hide the danger. Insurgents regrouped behind them, firing from multiple elevations. Rounds smacked the ground near Reeves' boots. He didn't flinch. "We need to move faster," he barked. "Lang, can you walk?" "I can hobble," Lang gritted, leaning on another. "Operator." The hostage trembled behind them, still in shock. Barely aware of the gunfight raging around him far above, Diesel kept circling in the A-10 Warthog. His fuel was running low, but he wasn't leaving. Not yet. Not while those men were still in the open. Inside the ops truck, Ava's voice remained clear, unshaken. "Vulture 1. Hostiles regrouping on high ground north. I need suppression fire along line 43 Alpha to Delta. Friendly units are 30 meters south. Danger close." Diesel didn't hesitate. "Copy. Eclipse. Rolling in hot." The Warthog dove again, a steel monster with wings. Its cannon spat. Fire, shredding the hillside. The ground shook beneath the SEAL's boots. Rocks and dirt exploded into the air, but the enemy fire stopped. Ava had guided the strike perfectly, close enough to scare the devil, but far enough not to burn angels. "Beautiful run," Reeves said into his com. "Tell your pilot he's buying the first round." Ava gave a soft smile, though no one saw it. "Roger that, Guardian 1. Continue toward LZ Echo. You've got 2 clicks. Medevac is inbound." Back at base, the sound of footsteps rushed behind her. A flight crew chief leaned in. "Birds are 2 minutes out. Should we launch second? Cover unit?" "Negative," Ava replied instantly. "There's no time. Just get the medevac in and out. I'll keep the sky clear." "Understood." The evac chopper thundered low across the valley, dodging treetops. Inside, medics prepped stretchers and secured litters. The pilot's voice crackled. "Approaching Echo, hot LZ. Need visual." "Where's my cover?" Ava responded without pause. "This is Eclipse. You're clear for descent." Warthog overhead on station. "I'll coordinate suppressive fire if needed." "Copy that. We're trusting you." As the bird lowered onto the rocky plateau, the SEALs emerged from the tree line, dragging Lang, guiding the hostage, eyes sharp. In every direction, bullets whipped from the shadows again. A second group of insurgents had circled the valley. "Contact, right side?" Reeves shouted. Ava spotted the heat signatures just seconds before they opened fire. "Vulture 1, immediate. Strike, target. Tree cluster at 43 Bravo. Friendly units within 20 meters. Confirmed danger close." Diesel's voice came through without hesitation. "Danger close confirmed. Engaging." Another pass, another burst. The trees lit up in flame and dust, and the gunfire ceased. One of the SEALs turned to the sky and raised a fist. Not in anger, but in salute. They loaded Lang first, then the hostage. Reeves remained behind, rifle raised, scanning the horizon as the rotor blades kicked up sand. "Guardian 1, you're the last one," Ava said, monitoring every movement. "I recommend you exfil now." Reeves hesitated. "What's your name, Eclipse?" She blinked. "Morgan. Ava Morgan." "Copy that, Morgan. Just wanted to know the name of the one who kept us breathing." With that, he climbed aboard. The medevac rose into the sky, banking hard toward base. They were out. Ava leaned back in her chair, her headset still on, her eyes scanning the fading markers on screen. Diesel's voice came through again. "Eclipse, this is Vulture 1. Fuel's at minimum. I got a RTB. You did well, Diesel." No, you did. I just followed the voice. Ava didn't reply. She just stared at the blinking dot disappearing from her screen, and finally exhaled. The mission wasn't over yet. Not until they landed. But tonight, she'd given them a fighting chance. Asterisk, the medevac bird sliced through the night air, engines straining under weight and urgency. Inside, the SEALs braced each other while medics worked on Lang's leg. The hostage sat between two operators, wrapped in a blanket, still shaking. Captain Reeves remained near the open door, eyes fixed on the terrain below. Something in his gut told him it wasn't over, and at WASN T.Ave saw it first. Her thermal feed picked up fast movement on a ridge to the southwest, too fast for goats or villagers. Dozens of heat signatures converging. Taliban reinforcements coming in hard. Guardian 1, this is Eclipse, she radioed calmly. New threat, southwest. Estimated 20-plus fighters moving toward your flight path. RPGs visible. Inside the chopper, the pilot cursed. We can't reroute without losing altitude. We're maxed out. Copy, Ava replied. She didn't waste time. She slammed a fresh headset on. Control, give me whatever's left in the air. I need backup support now. The comms officer, nearby, shook his head. Only air asset still airborne is Vulture 1, but he's bingo fuel. Ava didn't hesitate. Patch me through. Diesel's voice crackled back in, faint but steady. Eclipse, what do you got? 20-plus foot. Mobiles on a ridge. RPGs locked. They'll hit the bird before it clears the pass. I know you're low, but if you've got one last run. He didn't let her finish. Give me a heading. She pulled coordinates fast. Line up from Vector 215. You'll pass 200 meters from the bird. Danger close. Friendlies inside flight. Corridor. Copy. Final run. Let's make it count. Ava leaned forward, voice like ice and steel. Wind is light, no obstruction. You're clear to fire. On my mark. She watched the live feed, holding her breath. The enemy fighters began, setting up their launchers. Time was evaporating. Now, she said, far above. Diesel banked his Warthog for one last pass. His cockpit lights flickered, fuel light blinking red. He aligned his sights, breathed once, and pulled the trigger. The GAU-8 cannon roared too. Life in one final, devastating burst. To those on the ground, it sounded like the sky cracked open. The Warthog's rounds tore across the ridge, detonating RPGs, shredding enemy cover, and dropping bodies in clouds of dust. Those not hit ran, terrified of the invisible hand guiding that gun. Inside the medevac, the team rocked from the aftershock, but no one was hurt. Holy hell, Reeves muttered. She really called that. The pilot radioed in. Target area suppressed. No hits on us. We're clear. Back in the sky, Diesel's voice cut through static, hoarse but satisfied. Eclipse, fuel's gone. Heading home. You're on your own now. You did good, Diesel, Ava said quietly. I'll see you on the ground. The ops center was silent for a moment. No shouting, no typing, just heads turning toward her. Ava stood up, slowly removing her headset, her ears still buzzing from adrenaline. One of the officers finally spoke. You just ordered a strike within 200 meters of a friendly aircraft. Yes, sir, she replied. You realize if you'd been wrong. I wasn't. He paused, staring at her, then nodded. No, you weren't. A moment later, confirmation came through. The medevac had cleared enemy territory and was en route with no further contact. Everyone was alive. Ava sat back down, exhaling for the first time in what felt like hours. Her hands trembled now, but not from fear. The adrenaline was draining. The room was still watching her, not as a junior airman, not as the quiet tech, but as the voice who had called the shots and saved them all. In the sky, the Warthog faded from radar. But in that valley, Ava's voice was still echoing, and every man who lived through it would remember exactly how it sounded. Morning sunlight bled across the mountains as the medevac bird touched down at Forward Operating Base Coomer. Dust whipped around the landing zone as medics rushed forward. They pulled Lang out first, still conscious, cracking a joke between gritted teeth. The SEALs stepped off next, dirty, bruised, but upright. Captain Reeves was last, cradling his rifle, eyes still scanning the horizon out of instinct. Behind them, the rescued hostage stumbled out, shielding his face from the rotor wash. His first step on solid ground in weeks brought him to his knees. Not from injury, but relief. The crowd at the LZ didn't cheer. That wasn't the style here, but heads turned. There was a silent acknowledgement in the way people watched the team walk back, alive. Especially when word spread. They'd been ambushed, their JTAC taken out, and still made it out, all thanks to one voice on the comms. Inside the ops center, Ava sat quietly, reviewing the flight logs and audio files. Her body ached from sitting. Stiff for hours, but she hadn't moved. She was still scanning feeds, even after everyone had landed, just in case. Just to be sure. She didn't look up when the door opened. Captain Reeves stood there in his dust-covered gear, blood on his sleeve and a haunted weariness in his eyes. He walked toward her, stopping just a few feet away. "You Morgan?" he asked. She turned. "Yes, sir. Your Eclipse?" She nodded. For a long second, Reeves just stared at her. This wasn't the cold, distant technician he'd imagined. She was young, younger than he expected, calm, unshaken. But her eyes held something he recognized, the quiet burden of command. The weight of lives saved and almost lost. We were surrounded. Holt was down. "I thought we were gone," he said, his voice low. "Then you came on the radio." Ava didn't respond. She didn't know what to say. Reeves looked away briefly, then back. "You didn't just guide that pilot. You gave us a damn shield made of thunder." She finally spoke, voice soft. "I just did what I was trained to do." He gave a slow, respectful nod. "No, Morgan. You did a hell of a lot more than that." From behind Reeves, the rest of his team began filtering into the room. Lang leaned. On a crutch, face bruised but smiling. The others stood behind him like shadows, silent and steady. One of them, a massive operator named Brooks, gave Ava a grin. "You ever need someone to carry your bags, we're available." She blushed faintly but smiled. Just then, another voice chimed in from the corner, rough, amused. "Somebody order an angel with wings and 30mm teeth?" It was Diesel. He walked in, helmet tucked under his arm, flight suit dusty, eyes rimmed with exhaustion. He looked at Ava with something between admiration and disbelief. "I've had a lot of controllers in my career," he said. "But you talked me through a damn needle's eye. You ever think about switching to the cockpit?" Ava shook her head. "I like where I sit," Diesel laughed. "Good. The sky listens better with you on the ground." Major Keller stepped into the room behind them. He looked around at the assembled group, and at Ava. "Well, Morgan," he said, "you just broke every protocol in the manual. Took over a live operation, directed unauthorized air support, risked a friendly aircraft with a danger close call. Everyone held their breath." He walked forward. "And you saved 11 lives." He paused. "Good work, Airman." For the first time since the mission began, Ava let herself relax. Just a little. Not enough to collapse, not enough to cry, but enough to know she'd done her part. And more, she'd been the voice in the storm. And for the warriors in that valley, her voice had meant one thing: hope. The debrief was short. There was nothing left to dissect. The satellite feed confirmed every target Ava called had been accurate within meters. The gun camera footage from Diesel's Warthog backed it up. Surgical strikes, clean runs, no collateral. 11 Americans walked out of that valley alive, including a hostage long believed to be dead. Still, the paperwork would go on for days. The after-action reports, the reviews, the questions from brass who weren't there. But none of that mattered to Ava Morgan, because for once, people weren't looking past her. They were looking to her. She walked the flight line that evening, boots scuffing the sun-faded concrete. The base was quieter now, the chaos of last night, folded into memory. In the far distance, the silhouette of the Warthog glinted orange in the dying light. Ground crews buzzed around it, refueling, rearming, preparing it for the next mission. War didn't pause, not even for legends. She stopped and looked up at the sky. It was the same as always, endless, empty, uncaring. But tonight, it felt different, as if something had been carved into it that would never be erased. Behind her, footsteps approached. "Figured I'd find you here," Diesel said, falling into step beside her. She glanced at him. "Did they yell at you yet?" "Probably." "Tomorrow," he said. "I'll take it. Worth it." He handed her a small object, a patch from his flight suit. A stitched silver hog's head with glowing red eyes and the word vulture beneath it. "What's this?" "Tradition," Diesel said. "We only give these to the ones who save our asses. Consider it official." Ava held the patch for a moment, fingers brushing over the thread. "Thanks," she said quietly. They stood together in silence, the hum of the bass growing fainter behind them. "You know," Diesel added, "they're already using your cum recordings in TACP school. Some instructors are calling it textbook," he chuckled. "Hell, some are calling it poetry." Ava raised an eyebrow. "It wasn't poetry. It was survival. Same thing out there," he said. "Sometimes." That night, Ava returned to her bunk. It was small, plain, 4 walls and a cot. But it felt heavier now, like the room itself knew something important had happened. She sat at her desk and pulled out a worn notebook, the one she kept hidden under the cum gear. She opened it to a fresh page and wrote, "July 6th, 11 went in. 11 came back. I gave them my voice, and they trusted it." She paused, then added, "1 voice, 1 shot. That's all it takes sometimes." When she closed the notebook, she didn't cry. She didn't need to. The weight she'd carried for hours had already lifted, not because the danger had passed, but because she'd proven something to herself. She belonged. She wasn't backup anymore. She wasn't the quiet one in the corner. She was Eclipse, and out there, in places the world would never see. The ones who lived because of her would never forget that name. Months later, Ava returned home. She didn't tell many people about what had happened. The mission stayed classified, buried beneath red tape and silence. But among certain circles, pilots, SEALs, and combat controllers, a story passed from mouth to mouth like folklore. About the night a team was pinned, with no way out dot about the JTAC who went down, and the young voice who took control dot about the A-10 pilot who trusted her completely, even in total darkness dot, and about the girl with a steel mind and a steady hand who changed the ending of a mission. Everyone thought was doomed dot her name wasn't. In the papers, she didn't want it to be. But for those who heard her on the radio, or flew under her guidance, or survived because of her precision, they remembered. They always would. And when the call came again, a different mission, a different team, a different patch of dirt, they'd ask the same question. Is Eclipse on comms? And if the answer was yes, they'd all breathe a little easier, because they knew when Ava Morgan speaks, the sky listens.